Okay, so you want to buy a Honda CRV. Picture yourself at a red light on a rainy Tuesday evening. You look to your left, you look to your right, and there are three silver Honda CRVs idling in the lanes around you. That's the plan in your head, and it's not a bad plan. Walk into any suburban neighborhood, look down to driveways, and it looks like the easiest automotive decision in the world. Everyone owns one. The Consumer Reports ratings are stellar, your neighbor swears by hers. You watch that scene and you think, this is sensible, bulletproof transportation. Buy it, change the oil, save money. Simple. Here's the problem. You are looking at the one car on the road that lies to you the most about what it actually is. The truth is that a Honda CRV is not really just a practical family crossover. It is a masterclass in residual value preservation disguised as an everyday appliance. And the moment you understand that difference, everything about how a CRV quietly saves you money and how it secretly drains your wallet starts to make sense. Let's start with what it actually costs to get one into your driveway, because the price tag on the window sticker is a lot more complicated than MSRP plus sales tax. There isn't just one CRV. There are four distinct tiers, and each one is really a different financial product wearing the same chrome badge. At the bottom end, you have the base LX, the stripped-down budget anchor designed primarily to advertise an attractive starting price under $31,000. It gets buyers in the door, but it lacks the basic comforts most people actually want. Above that sits the mid-tier sweet spot, the EX and EXL, charging between $33,000 and $37,000. These are the volume cash cows for the factory and the dealer. The trim levels build with heated leather seats, power liftgates, and sunroofs that define modern daily driving. Above that sit the Sport and Sport Touring hybrids, pushing $38,000 to over $42,000, which sell you less of a traditional mechanical car and more of an efficiency promise. And then there's the massive, brutal secondary market, 3 to 8-year-old used CRVs selling for insanely high percentages of their original sticker price. Each of these is a different bet on the same underlying question. Do you pay more upfront to burn less fuel and hold resale value, or do you buy cheaper upfront and take the hit on technology obsolescence and higher interest rates later? That single decision shapes every other number in your garage. Now, here's where the naive mental model starts to break down. You think the expensive part is the purchase price. It isn't. The expensive part is crossing the threshold from the showroom floor to actual ownership. Before you even negotiate the vehicle price, Honda tack on a mandatory $1,350 to $1,500 destination fee. Then comes the dealership's finance and insurance room, the F&I office. Paint sealants, wheel locks, documentation fees, and window tint can easily add $1,000 to $2,500 in pure margin for the dealer. And then there's the part almost nobody budgets for correctly: high-tech hardware calibration. A modern CRV windshield isn't just glass, it's a mounting point for the radar cameras that run Honda sensing. Take a stray rock on the highway and you aren't just paying $300 for a glass guy to swap it out in your driveway. You are paying $1,200 to $1,600 for specialized OEM glass and an optical recalibration at a dealer service bay. Add state sales tax, registration fees, interest on a 6-year auto loan at 6% or 7%, and a baseline insurance policy, and even a modest mid-tier CRV requires $4,000 to $6,000 in upfront cash overhead before you've driven it home for your second week. So far, so good. Now, let's talk about what can go wrong. Maintenance is the next trap, and it's a subtler one than people expect. People buy Hondas because they expect never to open the hood. But modern efficiency engineering brings modern mechanical complexity. Under the hood of the standard gas CRV sits a 15-liter turbocharged engine paired with a continuously variable transmission, or CVT. Buying feels safe because of the Honda badge, but a CVT runs on precise hydraulic pressures and a delicate steel belt. Skip the mandatory CVT fluid flush every 30,000 miles, a $250 to $350 service, and you risk a $6,000 transmission failure down the road. If you buy the all-wheel drive model, the rear differential fluid needs changing every 15 to 30,000 miles as well. And because modern engines use direct fuel injection to meet strict EPA mileage targets, fuel is sprayed directly into the combustion chamber rather than over the valves. Over time, sticky carbon deposits build up on those valves, requiring a $400 to $800 chemical or walnut blast cleaning service that never shows up on the salesman's glossy brochure. Here's the decision that trips most buyers up. Do you go with the traditional gas engine or pay the $3,000 premium for the hybrid? Gas feels safer upfront, lower monthly payments, simpler mechanical layout, no high voltage battery pack to worry about 10 years from now. The hybrid sounds like the obvious move. You get instant electric torque and an EPA rated 40 miles per gallon in the city. So let's slow down and actually do the math. If you drive 12,000 miles a year and gas costs $3.50 a gallon, driving a gas CRV at 29 miles per gallon combined costs you roughly $1,450 a year in fuel. Driving a hybrid CRV at 38 miles per gallon combined costs you roughly $1,100 a year in fuel. That's a savings of roughly $350 a year. Divide that $3,000 upfront hybrid cost by $350 a year in fuel savings, and it takes you roughly 8.5 years of driving just to break even on the extra money you paid to get the hybrid badge on the tailgate. If you trade the car in for 4 or 5 years, you literally subsidize the fuel discount for the car's next owner out of your own pocket. Now, environment and driving style. This is the decision most first-time buyers get wrong because they think fuel economy is a fixed number printed on a window sticker. It's more specific than that. A hybrid CRV excels in dense stop-and-go city traffic where regenerative braking constantly recharges the battery without burning gas. Put that same hybrid on an open highway at 75 miles per hour in 0-degree winter weather, and the fuel economy advantage nearly evaporates while the gas engine runs continuously to heat the cabin. Pick the wrong powertrain for your daily commute, and you've committed to an upfront premium that your real-world driving habits will never recover. Now we get to the part of this business that actually explains everything else: resale value retention. Picture a coin flip, except instead of heads or tails, imagine every popular compact crossover falls into one of two economic futures. In one future, the one occupied by cars like the Ford Escape, Nissan Rogue, or Hyundai Tucson, the car loses 50 to 55% of its value within the first 4 years. In the other future, the CRV's future, the car holds 60 to 65% of its original sticker price after 4 years. Which of those two cars is actually cheaper to own? It's the CRV. And this is the single most important financial concept in the entire auto industry. Let me walk you through the math. Suppose competitor car A costs $30,000 and loses 55% of its value over 5 years. It costs you $16,500 in pure depreciation to drive it. Now suppose a Honda CRV costs $35,000 upfront, but only loses 35% of its value over those same 5 years. It costs you $12,250 in depreciation. Even though the CRV was $5,000 more expensive on the day you signed the paperwork, it was actually $4,250 cheaper to own over 5 years. Depreciation is the single largest expense of owning a vehicle, bigger than gas, bigger than maintenance, bigger than insurance. The CRV's high resale value acts as an invisible equity cushion that repays you every month you own it, even though you don't see it until the day you trade it in. This is not an accident. It is Honda's entire business model. Because used CRVs command absurdly high prices, Honda Financial Services can assign artificially high residual values to their leases. High residual values mean lower monthly lease payments, which allows Honda to keep rolling customers into new lease contracts every 36 months, feeding a continuous supply of pristine, low-mileage certified pre-owned cars back to their dealer network. There's also a structural choice that sits underneath the hood: how Honda builds these cars versus how dealers make their money on them. Honda builds the CRV on a global platform that shares steering components, suspension setups, and engines with the Civic and Accord. That massive manufacturing scale keeps unit production costs low and ensures spare parts are cheap and plentiful. That's great for you. But a dealership is a completely different business wearing the manufacturer logo. Dealerships do not make their real money on the thin margins of selling a new car. They make their money in the service bay and the F&I office. When you bring your CRV in for an oil change, Honda's electronic maintenance minder system displays codes prompting you for service. If you blindly accept every dealer-recommended fluid service, cabin air filter replacement, and brake flush at shop labor rates of $180 an hour, you can easily hand over $1,000 a year in routine overhead for a vehicle that was supposed to save you money. Now, here's where psychology becomes just as important as the math. Why do buyers routinely pay $22,000 for a used CRV with 80,000 miles on the clock? Part of it is pure risk aversion. Buying a car is terrifying for most households because a mechanical breakdown can destroy a monthly budget. The Honda badge acts as emotional insurance. Part of it is pure inertia. Millions of suburban drivers don't compare specs. They simply trade in an old CRV for a new CRV because it requires zero mental energy. And Honda designs the vehicle specifically to reinforce that comfort. Look at the dashboard. While other automakers replace physical controls with laggy, dangerous touchscreens, Honda kept physical knobs for volume and climate control. The ride is soft, the sightlines are open, and the layout is intuitive. None of this is accidental decoration. It's designed to ensure that 6 years into your loan, nothing about the car annoys you, keeping you firmly inside the Honda ecosystem for your next purchase. Before we get to what can go wrong, there's a second layer of hidden operational cost that catches almost every first-time owner off guard: theft and wear and tear risk. Because CRVs are among the top-selling vehicles in North America, their parts are in enormous demand. Older generations of the CRV are prime targets for catalytic converter theft, a part a thief can cut out from underneath the car in 90 seconds, leaving you with an unusable car and a $2,000 repair bill. Furthermore, heavy modern crossovers ride on large, low-rolling resistance tires designed for fuel efficiency. Replacing a full set of 18 or 19-inch tires runs $900 to $1,300 every 40,000 miles. And automatic emergency braking systems eat through front brake pads far faster than old cars ever did. That's a small example, but it points at the bigger lesson of vehicle economics. Almost none of the real costs are the ones printed on the window sticker. They're the ones buried in an insurance policy, a tire replacement quote, or an out-of-warranty labor rate. Now, let's talk about whether a car built entirely on this premise of bulletproof economics can actually fail you, because the honest answer is sometimes yes. Look at what happened with the 2017 to 2019 model years. Honda introduced the 1.5-liter turbocharged engine to the CRV, and cold weather owners quickly reported a terrifying issue. Gasoline was washing past the piston rings and diluting the engine oil. The oil level on the dipstick was rising, smelling heavily of raw fuel and threatening total engine failure. On paper, the CRV was the ultimate indestructible commuter. In reality, an engineering oversight in low-temperature combustion almost tanked the vehicle's legendary reputation overnight. Honda was forced to issue ECU updates, extend warranties, and change cold-weather engine management parameters to protect the resale narrative. A similar story plays out with high-mileage head gaskets on early 1.5T engines, or neglected CVTs. When a transmission fails outside of warranty, a $6,000 repair bill on a $12,000 used car instantly wipes out 5 years of calculated fuel savings. Here's the structural observation. Automotive success isn't about building a car that never breaks. It's about whether the math connecting purchase price, total cost of ownership, and residual equity holds together when real life happens. A car that saves you $300 a year in gas but loses $3,000 more in steep depreciation is a net financial loss, no matter how good the badge on the steering wheel makes you feel. So, how does owning a CRV actually play out in plain financial terms over a full 5-year cycle? In the optimistic scenario, you buy a mid-tier EX or Sport Hybrid, decline the dealer F&I add-ons, finance at a reasonable rate, handle basic maintenance through a reliable independent mechanic, and hold the car for 7 to 10 years. Under those conditions, a CRV costs roughly $0.45 to $0.55 per mile to run all in, delivering some of the cheapest, most predictable personal transportation on the market, and leaving you with thousands in equity when you trade it in. In the realistic scenario, you finance a top-trim Sport Touring over 72 months with zero down, pay high interest, buy extended dealer warranties, pay top dollar for every dealer-recommended service, replace an ADAS windshield out of pocket, and trade in the car at year 3 during a redesign cycle. Under those conditions, that same sensible CRV slides from a low-cost appliance into a money pit costing over $0.85 a mile, eating into the exact savings you thought you secured by avoiding a luxury brand. The difference between those two outcomes isn't luck. It's a swing of over $10,000 on the exact same vehicle, and almost none of that swing shows up as a dramatic event. No total breakdown, no fiery engine failure, just a slightly higher monthly payment, a few marked up service bills, and a lower than expected trading quote compounding quietly month after month until the bottom line looks nothing like your original plan. So, if you do decide to buy a Honda CRV, remember the one thing that actually determines whether it succeeds weeds in your driveway. It was never really about the gas mileage or the safety scores. It's about how carefully you navigate the hidden costs of owning it and how long you keep driving it after the monthly loan payments stop.